All right, so I wanted to do a little video about how to figure out like what muscles might be working and what might not be working. So this is basically a video on how to self-assess. So this is kind of a very broad video. Obviously it would narrow down depending on each person's specific information. But the best information, the best thing I can say is like pay attention to your body. Be very self-aware. Kind of do a body scan from head to toe. You can start up by your head and just kind of move on down and say, all right, what feels tight and what feels loose? And as you go and kind of do this like body scan from, head to toe, or you can even go from toe up to your head, and just really pay attention. Like, do you feel like, even if you're sitting in your chair, watching this video, is like, do you feel like actually both butt cheeks, sitting on your chair? Or do you feel a little bit more like, I'm kind of like leaning to one side, or I'm slouching to this side, and that feels actually comfortable to me, even though I know I'm not in alignment. So again, kind of this first step is just, being, aware of where you feel tightness. Now, if you have an injury, you definitely are going to feel that, right? Whether it's your knee, your toe, your elbow, your shoulder, any of the main joint areas, you're going to feel that pretty much all the time, and whether you feel it more standing or sitting, but pay attention to that. Your body's trying to give you little signs and signals, and I kind of refer to this as it's almost like you're driving your car and a little check engine light comes on. You know when it's really blinking at you and flashing because it hurts. It hurts worse when I go down the stairs, or actually it hurts worse when I go up the stairs on my knee. Okay, it hurts when I stand up, to get out of bed. It really hurts my back, right? Or when I reach up to the top shelf in my kitchen cupboard, I'm like, ooh, I feel that little twinge in my shoulder. So pay attention to those things, because those actions are the keys to trying to figure out what muscles need to be doing those jobs and what muscles are currently not working to do those jobs. So again, this body scan kind of head to toe is very, very important to kind of figure that out. So I'll just kind of run you through a quick example of one here. But again, you have to kind of develop your own pathway. So this is again where I kind of come in and can help, do this. This is what I do every day. Is I work with my clients and I try to figure out, exactly what's causing it. And in some odd cases, I had one gentleman who had a really bad foot injury, and honestly, the area that we needed to correct was up in his neck. Because of a neck injury, he was actually a baseball player, and he was complaining of, some left foot pain. So I started off looking around his foot and knee and hip and all of that area. And over time, we weren't getting anywhere. He was still having and experiencing that foot pain. I'd see a little different, ranges of motion and everything. But I'll share with you. He was a baseball player. And he was saying that, yeah, anytime he walked with his left foot forward, he could always feel that pain in the bottom of his foot. And he said, especially when he ran, it was always worse when he ran. And so again, we were checking everything down into his trunk, his hips, his knees, all those muscles kind of on the lower extremity. And it really wasn't until we started migrating up and I was like, let's just keep checking your ranges of motion all the way through your whole body. And we finally went up and I said, you know what, turn your head all the way to left. And he could turn his head all the way to left. And I said, great, now turn your head all the way to the right. And he went like this. He could barely turn his head at all to the right. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's your biggest range of motion asymmetry. We haven't even looked at your neck stuff. So we worked on treating some of the muscles into the neck, and within about, 10 minutes, he was finally able to rotate his neck all the way back to the right. And he was like, oh my gosh, that feels so good. And he stood up and he walked around the table and he was like, oh my God. I'm like, what? Did your neck hurt? Your back hurt? What's going on? He goes, my foot feels 100% better. And I was like, that is really hard to make any sense. But what was interesting about that is that your body rotates underneath your head, okay? So as you're walking, right now my left shoulder goes back, my right shoulder goes forward, but my chin stays straight ahead. And as you're kind of swinging your arms gently back and forth, your neck actually is pivoting. So my body is pivoting underneath my neck, my head stays still, okay? So he did not have right neck rotation, meaning that he couldn't do this, which also meant that when he took a left step forward, his right trunk or his right shoulder should have moved forward, and he couldn't get to this position. Because if you look, and if I turn my head to the right, that's very similar if I bring my whole body this way. So he didn't have this action. So that meant that he couldn't bring his trunk forward on this right side under his head. So once we got that working, he could finally rotate his trunk And the point that he was feeling the pain was all the way down into his foot. So again, this is just kind of an interesting thing for him, affecting, all of this from top to bottom, is that he was a baseball player. It was natural for him. He hit, he was a righty. So he's always doing this, practicing, but he never practiced going this way. And so that's just one example of paying attention to, oh, what do you do, day in and day out? If you have the same method, even, if you wake up and always get out on the right side of the bed versus the left side, that can create kind of an asymmetry. So these are the things I kind of want you to pay attention to, is that everything that you do on one side of your body, you should be able to do the same amount of action or the same amount of mobility with the other side of the body. So as you go through and do this body scan, and again, just kind of feel what feels tight on you, but kind of flex each muscle. Like I said, you could do some simple stuff, just simple like moving your head left and right. You can move it up and down, pay attention. What muscles are flexing to pull you into those positions, and what muscles have to relax or slightly stretch in order to allow you those positions. And again, you can do this all the way head to toe. You can bring your arm up, to your side. You can bring your other arm up to your side. If you notice like, ooh, that starts to hurt a little bit. There's something going on there. There's a muscle here on the top of your shoulder, your delt, that should be contracting, pulling this muscle up. There's a whole bunch of other muscles like around your shoulder blade that also help rotate that to help get it out of the way. But if you notice, oh man, this side's so easy, this side gets stuck, and I start leaning my whole body to bring my arm up. Okay, so watch yourself in the mirror and just pay attention. How far can you go in any of those positions? Okay, and this applies all the way down, top to bottom, head to toe. Okay, you can do your neck, you can do your elbow, right? You can just bend your elbow, straighten your arm. Okay, but you do that in different positions. I can also do it this way with my palm facing forward. I can also try to turn it this way with my palm kind of facing the other direction. And sometimes when I do that, I don't know if you heard that, but my elbow just snapped, right? It popped. And this is some issues that I have on my side where I can't quite turn my palm this way and flex my elbow in the same way, I don't know if you heard it, but as I can with my left side. So there's a little imbalance there on my right shoulder that I notice when I turn my wrist that way. It snaps my elbow each time. So anyway, you can do that from head to toe, okay? Take yourself through this, just lie on your back, or you can do it standing, and just try to flex each side of your body, just gently. It's very, very light. You don't have to grunt and get after it. You're just trying to engage those muscles and then relax them and pay attention. What feels tight? What feels loose? What can you not even engage? Okay, and kind of do that with the biggest muscles first. Try to feel like your big chest muscles. Feel your big upper back muscles. Feel your glute muscles, your quads, your hamstrings, your stomach muscles, okay? Feel all of those muscles. They should contract evenly as you kind of systematically go through and flex them. So I hope that gives you a little bit better idea of like how to do some self-assessment, and just pay attention, write those things down, try to figure it out and say, I feel like I can't engage my left glute muscle as easily as I can with my right. And I notice that I kind of shift and I sit in my seat a little bit more this way or the other way, okay? Or I notice when I grab that top thing out of the cupboard on the top shelf, that kind of sets my back into a little weird position, okay? Try to do it with opposite sides, right? That's why we have 2 arms and 2 legs. So try all of those positions, but that's the main way, is that you have to pay attention and be very body aware of how your muscles are working.